the final CX piece.
Thank you, Russ. I think this is going to be a fantastic session. Let me first invite our panelists, Sachin Patel, Jaideep, Peter, Prajit, Prashant. How are you guys today?
Good.
Good. Excited?
Super excited.
Super excited? Excellent, excellent. So we are going to do this a little bit different. You know, everybody's a little worn down, so we're going to bring some energy into this session, and we're going to do it a little bit different, right? So when I say a little bit different,
I cannot dance.
oh, no, I won't let you dance, don't worry. But, you know, since morning, everybody has been talking about AI, intelligence. I have a trivia question for all of you, and that's how I would like to start. What is the basis for this intelligence? Can anybody tell me what is the basis for this intelligence? What is AI using? What is the basis of this intelligence? Human-generated data, right? The last piece is the most important piece. AI is based on human-generated data. Everything that we have put out there in the internet, on our databases, it's the humans who have generated the data. And my next question, anybody in audience, anybody on the panelists, what's wrong with AI then? You got it. You got it. So, you know, all this intelligence that you're building, all this sense, emotions that you're trying to build, you know, recently there was a Hollywood movie, you can have an AI-built girlfriend, right? What if the data behind the AI-built girlfriend is wrong? What happens? So this brings us to a very important discussion that we're gonna have here. We're gonna talk about customer experience, what happens with customer experience, how do you deal with customer experience, not only on the sales side, but also on the service side. You know, how do you interact with your customers? In addition to that, we're going to talk about data and what are the different strategies that you have to do while generating data, as well as maintaining data, so that AI can do its job correctly. So that's our session, right? So let me begin with that. Let me first do a quick name introduction for each of the panelists, and then I'm going to talk for about 5 minutes on all the different things that Trinamix has done in this space, especially on the data, on CX, introducing AI in Sales Cloud, as well as, you know, the different use cases which exist out there on service, right? So why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hey, first of all, thank you, Trinamix and Oracle, for inviting me and giving opportunity to share my thoughts and learn from all of you. My name is Prashant Motevar. I currently work at a company called CoreWeave, just 3 months or 2+ months in the job. And I lead business technology product management and enabling data and AI initiatives. Prior to that, extensive senior executive leadership experience at Equinix, productizing data AI, and also enabling business technology. And half of my career spent at Oracle building supply chain optimization products with some of you in the room. So that's my brief intro.
Thank you. Jaideep, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Jaideep Agrawal, and by the way, my name is JAI Deep. so, so I've been listening since morning AI. I thought AI is in my name. I work for a 140-year-old startup. It's called NCR Atleos. My role is VP of Technology. I'm responsible for customer services as well as supply chain and manufacturing domain, all the way down to what we call as a product engineering. We are #1 ATM deployer across the world. We run the largest ATM network, which is called Allpoint. If you walk around and you'll see an ATM, most likely it'll be ours. We have roughly about 600,000 ATMs globally that we support, and we support roughly about 16 million. So there's a large scale, and there's expertise around it, and that's what we do around. And to talk about AI, specifically what we do today, we started our journey on intelligent dispatching, all the way down to, for a service to work, you need to have right understanding of the issue, so that's a diagnostic, as well as being able to offer the suggestion as to how to resolve an issue. So that's the three key AI use cases that we've been working on right now. Had pretty good success and excited to be here today.
Excellent. Thank you, Jaideep. Peter, why don't you go next?
Hello, everybody. Thanks for letting me have the opportunity to talk today. My name's Peter Brostowitz. I am with On2 Innovation. We are a capital equipment maker for the semiconductor space. We make inspection equipment for TSMC, Intel, so the big giant machines that are in the fabs. I've been with On2 not even a year and a half, and in that year and a half, 20 days ago with Trinamix, we went live on a greenfield ERP.
Woohoo!
Took 3 ERPs down to 1, an on-prem EBS and a mixed mode cloud. For what I'm going to talk about from an AI perspective is the foundational that we're at right now. We're 20 days after go live, so we are starting our next journey into AI.
Congratulations, Peter.
Thanks. My name is Prajit Maniat. I'm the Senior Director of Enterprise Applications at Star Surgical. I've been with Star for over a year. Before that, I spent half of my career in Big Four consulting, doing IT strategy, ERP implementation. Also had my own AI company, using machine learning before the generative AI was popular, and then in IT leadership role. We are going through a whole ERP transformation project at Star. We are going to go live in Jan 2026. I'll be talking more about like how to utilize AI in IT operations applications, and what sharing my experience with the folks. Thank you.
Excellent. Last but not least, Sachin sir.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. And before I introduce myself, thanks to Trinamix for hosting such a great event, and to my fellow panelists as well. My name is Sachin Patel. I'm Vice President of Product Strategy. My primary responsibility is PLM and Product MDM. That's my core domain. I also have a second responsibility of late, which is a pillar lead for supply chain management AI. So I help our SCM dev teams deliver AI agents and AI capabilities. So that's just a little bit about myself. I've been with Oracle for about 28 years now, came from the e-business suite sort of lineage. So in tech terms, I'm an Oracle dinosaur, but I'm still there. So just a little
You have survived.
Yes.
All right, so like I said, I wanted to mix this up. Now I'm going to talk about some of the real use cases that we have actually implemented using AI, right? So like I was doing the trivia question, and we were talking about, what is AI based out of? AI is based out of human-generated data. When you talk about human-generated data, what does it mean? Humans make mistakes because we are not machines, right? What it also means is when this data is generated, how do you actually bring governance? How do you actually bring cleansing? And how do you actually correct your data before you feed it to a monster, right? So at Trinamix, what we have done is we have leveraged AI for the exact same purpose, automated data cleansing. You take an example of like On2, you have 3 companies merging together and 3 ERPs merging together, and now you want to cleanse the master data. Master data can be install base, master data can be item master, master data can be customer master, supplier master. The biggest thing that you're going to see in that master data is anomalies. Anomalies can be in terms of duplication. Anomalies can be in terms of lack of standardization. Anomalies can be in terms of lack of categorization. And that's where the contextual AI comes into picture. It is able to identify duplicates, help remove duplicates. It is able to prescribe standardization of master data. It is able to prescribe normalization and categorization of master data. And what does it do in the end? It enables the enterprise to use the right data set for AI, right? Now, just to take a case study, we were with a Canadian utility company, and they had millions of parts, everything from all over the place. We actually ran some of our machine learning models with them. And you guys would be laughing at us. We actually use Python, right? And we use very simple concepts called COSIM, right? Very simple concepts which are available in machine learning can be applied to actually look at data, analyze data, and cleanse data, right? Those concepts are the real things which need to be the bedrock of any AI initiative, right? That was one use case. Can we go to the next one? Oh, yeah, see, clicker. Okay. And we talked about data governance, right? Data governance can be in two forms, pre-check and post-check. So when we are talking about agentic AI, and if we can train agentic AI to guide you while you're creating the data, is able to tell you what are the standards that you need to maintain, and most importantly, completeness of the data while creating. That's one use case. Second is continuous monitoring dashboard. Like we have created, a dashboard on PDH Cloud where you can continuously monitor your master data to talk about whether my safety stock values are correct or not. Isn't it, Peter? Right? Whether my lead times are correct or not, Jaideep sir, right? Yep. So those, and can I actually use to update my master data through machine learning, right? I go and look at what are my procurement lead times and how my procurement lead times have changed since COVID, right? And how do I go and update it? So governance is not just in terms of approvals, it's in terms of identifying anomalies, correcting those anomalies, and sending to humans for approval, right? That's the beauty of things that we have done at some of our customers when it comes to master data. That's one example. Second that we have done, and I'm pretty happy about it, is how do you actually bring technology into machines, right? So when I say technology into machines, an ATM is down. You have telemetry data. How do you actually go and look at telemetry data and do remote diagnosis before a truck roll, right? And then you start talking about what are the parts that my technician needs to have in his van. Is this the right technician with the right skill set? So all these pre-checks actually help you do only one thing: avoid mistakes, right? Avoid wrong truck rolls, avoid wrong parts, avoid mistakes. So AI can be used extensively for avoiding mistakes, right? And that goes back to work order anomaly detection, looking at different work orders being created against service requests, and then finding out how many of them took more time, how many of them took reverse, that the technician had to go twice, 3 times, etc. That's where real use case lies for AI, right? Now, Oracle has a beautiful product, Oracle Field Service Cloud. It can optimize route planning. It can do, a technician can go and auto product. But imagine if there was a knowledge assistant to Field Service Cloud, which says, okay, these are the typical issues that are going to happen. And can they even avoid a truck roll, right? And say, can we diagnose a problem remotely? Can we actually solve a problem remotely so that we don't need a truck roll? Or categorize the service request in a way that you can actually tell what kind of skill set and what kind of technician is needed to be rolled out. Those are the real use cases of artificial intelligence in CX. Enough of service, enough of master data. The real money lies in sales, right? So when you look at sales, enabling our sales agents, templatized emails, standard content, talking about, this is the most efficient, emotionally charged content that needs to go out to your customers. Putting it on templates. Onto is on that journey. They have already embarked when they went live with Sales Cloud to put AI-based templates, AI-based emails into their Sales Cloud so that everything is standardized and they are onto a better CRM platform. Now, not only just putting AI on the Sales Cloud for these tasks and automations, onto actually went ahead with a little bit more, that the Sales Cloud is integrated with analytics, CX analytics. So all the revenue data, whether it is getting generated from service, whether it is getting generated from sales, as well as milestone-based installation and payments, is all fed into CX Analytics Cloud so that they can actually predict their revenue. And not only for this month, this quarter, because sometimes things go across quarters, they can predict what's the revenue for next quarter. Right? That's the beauty of combining right kind of data and process being put in place and then leveraging analytics on top of it. So these are the things that I wanted to share, real use cases, real examples where combination of data, process, and AI can add value to customers. Prashant, how are you thinking about this? Does this give you any ideas? What are you thinking in terms of AI?
Yeah, sure. So a little bit about companies that I worked. So CoreWeave is a hyperscaler company. So I would say probably only company which offers the HPC, high performance computing, using 100% GPU farms. So the way we do it is like we build the AI-ready, GPU-ready data centers across the globe, right now mainly US and EU. So definitely what is important to us is how can we promise the capacity with a confidence. Because GPU is a currency these days, right? Like the compute is a currency. And the most constrained commodity is a power. So with the available power and resources, with the large demand coming from LLMs and Gen AI and all, how can you tell customers that, hey, 6 months down the line, 7 months down the line, I can offer this much capacity and I have all the resources to build that. So we have a lot of AI models, like in my current company as well as previous company. Quinix was also another hyperscaler, a little bit larger company across the globe in 40 countries. Similar problem, power is a constraint, and then a huge demand from AI. So what that means is like we need to predict the capacity, we need to predict the utilization, we need to look at the supply demand that creates the inflection point for the power, and then give some options to our customers, like, hey, where I can build that capacity for you, if not point X, then what is, can I distribute across 3 locations? So that's one area where I say, like, this is a segment of AI where it distinguishes you as a business, because the AI use case, your customer directly understands because it impacts the customer, and then that can change the buying decision. And there are, unfortunately, few use cases which really, distinguishes you as a business and create a competitive edge. But the large bucket that we deal with, and that's another area, is more of a risk avoidance, productivity improvement, efficiency. And a lot of those use cases, I think I heard in multiple panels, you talked about those in finance, supply chain, legal. There are many of those, like forecast accuracy, revenue forecasting, predicting churn, predicting invoice disputes. So the problem I dealt with those use cases, first of all, there are many of those, and it feels like boiling the ocean. Now, the problem is where exactly we should invest. Because every use case brings some incremental benefit. The earlier use case, which distinguishes you as a business, that is like a completely different ballgame, maybe 10x, 20x kind of ROI. But these use cases are very incremental in the nature, and that's where you need a very robust decision-making framework that invest in use cases which really matter and bring the business outcome. Yeah.
Very valid point. Before you go and try to find a needle in haystack, you need to know what is the value of that needle, right? It's very important, because when AI comes into picture, everybody thinks like now AI is the next thing. It's going to do everything for you, right? It was the same thing back in the day when big data came into picture. Everybody thought like big data is going to solve everything for you, but you need to find those use cases which are really valuable, hard to solve, and need a lot of compute, right? Jaideep, what is your vision as well as, where do you see AI coming into picture?
I would say let's start with, let's understand what is service. Service is a problem gets reported. How does it get reported? I don't want my customer to tell me you have a problem. I want to understand there's a problem. So looking at telemetry data, being able to correlate and understand and identify a problem. And as much as we understand, we can do remote resolution. I don't want to roll the truck. You talked about rolling the truck. That costs money. And when I roll the truck, then I send an engineer. Do I send a knowledgeable person with the right part so that I don't have a repeat? Because if I have a retrip, somebody not only went there, spent the money, wasted time, but my clock is ticking. I'm going to pay money for customer for being late. And then once the issue is resolved, understanding and identifying what are the issues in the product that I can go and design it right or manufacture it right. So this whole ecosystem has AI capabilities, possibilities around the scope. I mean, if you look at the way I look at it as an AI first strategy. This is essentially for my teams. Whenever we have an issue, we look at how, as a company, we have adapted what we call as a customer first or service first strategy, and backed it internally by AI first strategy for technology teams, and then underneath that is API first, because those are the challenges that we need to solve. And going back to your question, the key here is where do you pick up and where do you start first? You're not going to boil the ocean at first. So that's what I would say from an NCR point.
Excellent. Peter, 20 days old from a recent go live.
Yeah, we're 20 days go live, so we have a very solid foundation. We have sparkling clean data at the moment, but it's quickly going to drift. But if I look at where we are and where we need to go, and I apply the crawl, walk, run methodology to it, and I lay out a 24-month horizon upon that, if I were to look at it and then break it down to 9-month intervals, our first stage needs to be around our service area first and foremost. The main focus of our ERP consolidation wasn't just to consolidate, it was to put out a better customer interaction. That's why we put in OFSC, the CX Cloud, and Cloud for Sales. It was all customer focused, and we need to continue that journey. So from an AI perspective, getting the service request information that those engineers are doing in those fabs, getting that information, getting the repair manuals all into an AI agent, having them do natural language queries about it, telling them what happened on that tool from an install base in the past is just going to accelerate our customer interaction in a positive way. If I bundle in with that, in that first phase, I'd go with supply chain as well. How can I optimize my manufacturing floor from a shortage perspective? What we manufacture are very precision, very leading edge optics and lasers, and our suppliers have a tough time delivering on time. Where can we find out where we can predict our shortages in the future? And then lastly, where we're going to focus in that crawl space is around tariffs. Our customer base is almost all Asia. We source throughout the entire world, and we're getting hit left and right now by, is this part classified as a new tariff or not? So those are the three areas we're going to go at from a crawl perspective. We'll move into more supply chain. We'll move into more finance in the walk, and then we'll move into a full go for run.
Why don't you also talk about how your company's strategy has changed, more focused towards service from a regular manufacturing company shipping tools out, and what has that focus done in terms of creating recurring revenue for you?
So we're one of the smaller players in the capital equipment space, just about $1 billion. But as we increase our install base, that's a huge opportunity for continuous revenue from a service contract perspective. So Vinod touched on it earlier, knowing what our future contracts are going to be from a billing perspective, when they're expiring, and when we can take advantage of that to extend that warranty for additional sales, and to know what's going on just from an overall interaction and hotspot from a customer perspective is just going to drive more service revenue.
One more, Peter.
Sure.
There is something unique that Onto has done, is that they have empowered the technicians. So when a technician actually goes out into a factory and is inspecting a particular machine, the technician can also find out there are 2 more things which are potentially wrong with the machine, and he may have to come back. So a technician is actually able to create a service request from the field service cloud application itself, right? Empowering your intelligent engineer to do the thing right then and there itself, to say what kind of parts are needed, what kind of failures are there in 2 more machines which are adjacent to the machine that has been reported right now. So adding that human aspect of proactive maintenance, right? Through visual inspection, through checks, and being able to, on a real-time basis, sitting in a Samsung factory and telling, these are 2 more machines and 5 more parts which are needed, is a game changer, right? Back in the day, you had to call a call center, or customer had to call a call center and say, oh, now this machine has failed. So this mindset and this approach of being proactive is what I really liked about it.
I would totally agree with you, Vinod, on that. And in 20 days, if I were to look at all of the departments, the tracks, however you want to call it, and classify it, the ones that have embraced it the most is the service team, hands down. They're struggling because it's new. They're now using their tablets or phones instead of EBS. But hands down, they are by far the most, they're embracing it by far over anybody else, without a doubt, because of the ability to order a part for any tool right now.
Excellent. Thank you, Peter. Rajit, I know you want to talk about IT and how AI is being used in IT. I would love to hear that. I think it also jives well with what our co-sponsors, Opki, spoke about a few things, right? Please go ahead.
Sure. From a longer term standpoint, right, looking at all the AI augmented decision making, embedded AI within the applications, right, and then having, like previously it used to be predictive, all the models would be, now it's more prescriptive, right? Taking the output of those prescriptive models and then using the agentic AI and stringing the whole thing through, right, through the intelligent automation, right, with your team, like Sachin's team would be coming up with all the agentic AI agents and using all that, right? So from a longer term duration, that's what we would be really excited about. There are certain things on like the closed checklist, right, like for finance, that's pretty important. From a shorter term standpoint, right, like what we are going through a transformation project itself. We have this AI testing, basically the automated test generation. So it's something different than just testing what was there in the test scripts. It's looking at the data, trying to figure out where are the gaps, using all those testing to de-risk the implementation. So the more testing you have, the more bugs you find. So after each of our before we start any of our cycles, right, we do this smoke testing, and we use the automated testing tool to run through and get that testing done. The other piece is the whole digital adoption, basically having the user manuals, right? Previously it was pretty static. Now we have tools like OGL, the Oracle Guided Learning. Opki also has the training agent. So using that even during the implementation time, previously all those tools used to be pushed towards after implementation kind of support, but making sure people are comfortable with the system, they know what the processes are. As we go through all this AI related stuff, data is key, right? The better trained the people you are, the better data you're going to get. There are lesser mistakes they would make. So it's very important that you invest on the training and getting the data right. So the whole digital adoption, having this guided way of going through a transaction, helping them out rather than static user manuals is something that's pretty neat that everybody should be looking into. Then we have something like, we look into a support agent, right? Like once if there's an issue, there should be a way for a person to record that transaction and create that ticket, get some kind of in context regarding that transaction, like what errors are, right? Just help on that regard also is pretty important. The last but not the least is the low code, no code, like VBCS.
Correct.
I mean, we have been pretty adaptive with all the changes, right, using VBCS. That's something that being iterative, being pretty quick at it, right? Not taking months to do certain things is the opportunity I'm seeing.
Before I go to Sachin, I have one more question for Jaideep. Jaideep, how about automated testing?
Oh, we are a huge fan of Opki. We've been using automated testing, and it's been pretty good experience. It cut down our cycle time significantly. And by the way, the demo that was shown today, we saw it probably about a month back when you guys were just ready. And we continue to innovate together. There's a lot of opportunity.
Yep. Yeah, so why I say so is Prajit is also, I think, maybe an OpKey customer.
We are already, yeah, exactly. Like we have the training agent, the testing agent.
We are
and
using
looking
configuration agent as well.
Yes,
so.
yes.
Excellent. Over to you, Sachin. What's Oracle's roadmap?
So before I get to the roadmap, though, I did want to have a few minutes just talking about master data, because that's sort of
Yes,
near and dear
yes,
to my heart.
absolutely.
That's what I live and breathe and have done so. So as we were talking about, one of the things is, and master data is not something new, right? It's been there for the past 15, 20 years as a focus area. But we still see a lot of companies reluctant in adopting, and
Right.
getting onto that master data maturity curve, right? And one of the challenges I feel is that even after implementing data standardization, a lot of it is still manual, right? So with AI, I believe the adoption of master data management is going to increase significantly, because you're sort of taking out that equation of cleansing that data and then following that process, where now you have tools to automate some of that, right? So rather than a business user worrying about, oh, did I enter the unit of measure in the right format or whatever that standard is, if the AI system or the system or the application can do that for me, I don't need to worry about that, right? So I think that's one important part. I believe this is sort of an inflection point where we will see an acceleration in adoption, because there's automation that can now help you kind of do that.
I have a follow-up question on that.
Sure.
And then that question has been in my mind for last 10 years, right? So go back to AT&T or go back to Comcast or go back to Rogers. All these companies use standard parts.
Yep.
The manufacturers are Cisco's of the world. My question to you is why these corporations could not use standard item name and standard item description, published by Telcordia. Why do they continue to use their own generated data rather than using industry standard data? What's the challenge in adopting industry standard data set, at least starting with naming convention, actual names, descriptions, to make it standard?
Right, and I think there are a couple of reasons for that. We don't really know why, but I think a lot of it is also culture. Generally, companies want to control their data, so they think that, hey, I'm going to create a better version of it, even though they might have something from the original vendor or manufacturer. That's one of the reasons. And I think in general, there is no standard, right? So if you look at industry, if you look at med devices versus high tech, there's so much variability in terms of products and solutions. And the processes that companies follow, right? So I think those are all the reasons why it's sort of contributing to the proliferation of different ways people and customers sort of name their parts. We've also seen that if you look at traditionally, companies had a lot of intelligence somewhere in the description, because they did not have systems that could capture that structured data, right? So they put all of that in a description, so somebody who's been there for a long time could look at a part number, and I've done that myself. I used to remember as a manufacturing engineer all the parts that I had to deal with, right? So that's something that I believe has been just traditional process that sort of seeped in. But I think now as we look at AI and newer technology, I think that's going to hopefully be solved through that. So.
How do you actually avoid people from creating wrong master data or incorrect master data?
That's correct. So again, I think that's where that automation helps, right? So again, as Oracle, we've had a product MDM and a customer data master solution for a long time. We were one of the first vendors to recognize the need for that, being a data company in general. So I think, now with more of these AI agents and, having more of that automation, I believe that's where, we'll be able to help our customers sort of address that challenge, so to speak.
Thank you.
Yes. About the
that's the
roadmap.
next thing. We all are looking forward to what's Oracle's roadmap.
Yeah, so if we can move on to the next slide. Okay, a safe harbor because I'm going to talk about some futures, but I think we've seen that in the previous presentations as well. But I just wanted to kind of, I know we touched on AI Agent Studio a little bit in the previous, my colleagues were out here, but I wanted to give you a little bit more perspective on this. And so we were talking about low code, VB as being the low code, no code. So one of our strategies has been to enable agentic AI and in general embedded AI, as we talked about, right? And Gerald kind of referenced that. We've taken an approach of building our agentic framework right on top of our business applications because we believe that without data, and that is extremely important for agents to operate on, right? Without that, you don't have agentic AI. Building it on that platform is extremely critical, right? So from a strategy and a roadmap perspective, this is where we are investing heavily in. This is our first release, 25C, where we are releasing the Agent Studio. It's something that has been built in a single release, one of our fastest development roadmaps that has come out, and that too on a brand new technology. And the advantage we get out of the Agent Studio is that, again, it has direct access to business objects, which really house your data. So when you create these transactions, it's not a separate system, it's not in a data lake, you don't have to sync it, you have direct, or your agents, so to speak, have direct access to this business data, so that gives them that context to drive that automation. And then secondly, from a security perspective, all of this data is already secure, right? So for customers who are using Fusion applications, you know that we have very robust, granular, role-based security. So that layer is already being honored both by the agents as well as the business users that are creating that data. So that's a key part, and that's why we call it built in and not bolted on, right? So strategically, that's where we are invested in. This is our first release. We've released about, I would say, 20 or so, pre-built templates, in supply chain, and then many more across different pillars. Next slide, please. So if you look at one more, So if you look at AI Agent Studio, it will have pre-built templates. So this will give you as a customer or you as a partner a starting point to start implementing and deploying these agents across many, many different processes. We also have an advantage of being a hyperscaler. We are the 4th largest now officially. So that gives us an advantage of having the compute to deliver these LLMs natively so that our customers can benefit from this. And then broader from a framework perspective, again, this is a low-code, no-code environment. You can literally create agents. We had a hackathon when we released this, both for the field as well as our internal development folks. And within about 2 or 3 weeks, we had about 700 entries, okay? And when I was on one of the judging panels, and what we saw, which was unique, is people who had no technical knowledge, like myself. I mean, I do have some, but people from strategy pairing up with QA and coming up with these great ideas, right? So this platform inherently, and I think the previous guests talk about how easy it is to create these things, and that's going to radically change how the adoption goes. And then finally, we're also not just releasing a platform for you to build these agents. We're going to bake in the testing, validation, the evaluation, which is going to be an important part of you deploying agents to make sure that the responses, it's not hallucinating, etc. That's all baked into this Agent Studio. That's upcoming in the next release. So we're just getting started, but a lot more exciting things coming for our customers and partners and us, frankly, to build upon. So, okay. And this is just, again, I think this was covered by Arvindan, but we've released about 20 odd templates across the board, specifically talking about this. Was one of the first things I wanted to do is to have a master data governance standards advisor where it can answer questions on your master data. This is our first step. We're going to, of course, extend this to more robust governance processes. And I saw Trinamix is also working on a data quality agent, so I'm looking forward to that as well. But this is just sort of giving you a sense of where we are. And then I think the next few releases, we're going to keep churning out, right? And there are more and more sophisticated patterns coming, like the sequential workflow where you'll have conditional logic to branch off, looping, many, many exciting features upcoming in our next 25-day release.
By the way, we are taking one of the PDH agents to the telecom company in Philadelphia next week.
See? And one term I think just to key off your view, and this is something that we're using internally in development as well, is velocity, okay? So things that took X amount of time are now just going to be done in a very, very short amount of time, right? So that's the key thing why this technology is so exciting.
Prajit, any last comments?
No, really excited and looking forward to this whole, the agents, right? Like as we get more agents, right? I think the core piece of LLM and what Oracle is doing is the security layer, right? Typically what you do is you put a lot of data and then like there is a chatbot or something that goes in, but it doesn't honor your security. Now with a role-based access, you only get the information that's what you're supposed to know. Not with the previous LLMs, right? You just send a lot of data and then you need to figure out what is exposed, what is not exposed.
Peter, any last comments?
So from a company perspective, once we get through our stabilization, we probably won't get to take a big deep breath. We're probably going to move right straight into AI enablement across the company. We just can't wait.
Excellent. Jaideep, any last comments?
Yeah, I think you said it's about velocity. What used to take years and months is now taking weeks and days, and I think that's where we are. We are jumping into it. We have defined a strategy. We know what we want to do, and people are empowered to make fast moves and make a difference.
Prashant, any last comments?
Yeah, sure. So I would like to make two comments in two areas. One is master data management, and then the second specifically on the Gen AI. Where I practically struggle with MDM to secure right level of funding from my leadership to invest in MDM, and where we realize the importance of MDM is because of AI models. So we had one AI model, very sophisticated model where the physical robot used to take pictures of data center, aisles, and then used to find out the hotspots because that consumes the power and that ruins the customer experience. And based on that location and hotspot, with the image recognition, used to finally send alerts to right technician and right customer contact to fix it. Great model, but the value wasn't there simply because our customer data was so bad. We were contacting weird people at customer locations. Sometimes CEO of a company, because when that customer record was created, it was a small company. Now it's a public company, and the CEO is getting alerts about some panel is open or something like that. So that was one area we could highlight, like, hey, we need to clean the our master data. But also we did a lot of A/B testing, like using ML, showing that whenever I have a clean contact, those sales cycles are pretty fast. Those quotes are getting approved very fast, like at least 2x times faster than the bad contacts. So some of that we had to do. And then the other areas where we realized the importance of MDM, we had a very good 15, 20 great models capturing customer journey, right from the sales and service, everything, and new product release. But then cohesively, they were not giving us the good customer 360, simply because every model used a different definition of customer. Sometimes they used DNB, sometimes they used Zoom info, sometimes internal. Internal, we had 3 or 4 ways to identify customer. And that's where we struggle to get the value from the AI. So that's where the MDM importance. Quickly on the Gen AI, what I learned on the Gen AI is identifying specific use cases and putting your team to solve that is not going to give you much value, because you'll spend a lot of time doing the simple thing. But what I learned is, like, rather invest into the platform. And I think Oracle talked about it, VG talked about it. It's very important because there is a huge common denominator to build the vector database, build the RAG, making sure that the right data is going into the RAG, and LLM calls are governed. So example, like we built a very sophisticated, very good decent LLM model to create a sales content during the sales motion. And then, but we use the platform approach, but the same platform was used by legal for completely different use case, where they compared the contract at the time of renewal and then found out the anomalies with the contact, because it's a text recognition, content recognition, and then getting action. So yeah, that would be my advice on the LLM.
Thank you. Thank you. I think that closes our session. Thank you very much, everybody. We have time? All right. Ahead of time. See? That's good.
We're actually ahead of time, which means we can ask these poor tired souls that are trying to escape off stage a few questions today. Does anybody who's... You can answer questions standing as well. Standing, sitting? I know you've been sitting all day. So does anybody have a question in the audience?
No, it's a different conversation.
Go ahead.
Sorry, can I get your name?
Yeah, Sachin.
Sachin.
Yeah.
Sachin, your question is for data refinement. One important thing is data modeling. When you deal with different products, they may have different product models, the data models as well. So how do you combine, how do you rationalize it when it comes to data cleaning? So that becomes an important aspect because certain fields may not exist in the ERP applications. And how do you combine data when you can do that?
So, so the way we, at least at Oracle, support that, and we have a very flexible, so we have a data model that supports the standard product types that we've known over the years, right? Because we have a lot of customer experience in terms of different industries, etc. So we sort of know, you have configured products within that. You have, assemble to order, pick to order, etc. So our data model sort of covers that out of the box, but we also provide a very easy way for you to extend that using what we call extended attributes. And then when we have functions like data quality, we make sure that not only the seeded data sets are exposed to that function, we also make it very easy. It's almost transparent. It doesn't matter whether it's extended or pre-seeded. We allow data quality or cleansing on top of all of those attributes, right? So we cannot sort of support every variation of the product model out there, but with this combination, it's worked quite well. I think we have customers from med device manufacturers to toy manufacturers to food and beverage companies, and we've been able to cover pretty much all the product modeling using that sort of strategy.
Okay, well, then I get to give my questions in. I had to wait, Sachin. We've known each other for a while, so.
Sure.
And this is going to be a question that fits to both the sales cycle that we're talking about downstream, like from a sales and operations perspective, but also talks about that whole new product introduction, the engineering to supply chain. So what I've seen over the years from applications back in the days since we've been around into cloud is applications do some pretty good handoffs, but now with the advent of AI and AI agents, forcing the collaboration between some teams that sort of go through the motions, so seeing that collaboration. So I'm kind of curious about your strategy and thoughts on how to tightly tie the engineering to supply chain to procurement teams, because as we all know, it can be as high as 20 times the cost as it goes down cycle, and if it leaves the door because the quality is not as good on the product. And then to tie this together on the sales and operations, we know how we have calendaring, but how do we do business process automation similarly in that collaboration, getting the calendars, getting the people pushing, and getting that focus?
Yeah. Great point, and it's a big challenge. So from an Oracle applications perspective, we have made, and that was one of the reasons why we built our PLM and supply chain on a single product master foundation, because that was absolutely critical. Prior to that, we had an acquisition through Agile PLM, a lot of our customers having data in there, pushing that data into e-business suite, right? Automatically creating that fragmentation. So that was our first sort of step into making sure that we minimize that fragmentation. But I think as you talk about AI agents, we are actually seeing those walls being broken down, because now the agent doesn't care. Today, a human has to have a role. I have to go into PIM, do something. If I want to get some information from procurement on a BP or a purchase order, I have to have a role there. But with agents now, I don't need to have that, right? So I can have a workflow that kind of spans across multiple applications and automate that whole process, right? So I think, we're, of course, from an internal architecture perspective, we are trying to bring all of these processes together, right? So, and we still need to do a much better job at it. But same thing on the CX side, right? So we are actually now starting to discuss how we need to have, a lot more, a reference from the product master into CX rather than creating that data on that side, right? So, but I think with agents, it definitely allows us to.
And
kind of span
CX
that.
closes the loop, right? That's the
It
real
does.
customer experience, and then you
Yes.
can go back and give feedback
It has-
as
yeah.
to how device is performing that you created
Correct.
up front,
Yeah.
or what parts were used to create the
Right,
device. So
yeah.
it's all together. It doesn't stop at supply chain. It goes up to deep into.
Correct. So, and naturally, like if you look at product life cycle, traditionally it's been called the life cycle, but from a traditional PLM application perspective, it stops once you release it from engineering, right? But it has to sort of continue on and keep getting that data, right? So we're very focused on making sure that master data allows us to
And
do
I
that.
see it even extending into outside the four walls, into the prototyping cycles as well
Absolutely, yeah.
with your supplier. So
Yep.
I think that whole collaboration, I think there's huge opportunities to exercise AI agents in this arena.
Absolutely. Yeah.
We do have one more question, and it falls right up your alley again, Sachin, and if other folks are using some of the Oracle PLM tools, we're kind of curious for you. And this may be a simple answer, but we'll see what you have here. What AI tools are available in the PLM, Oracle PLM? Are there any that will help with determined data required during SKU creation? I think I know this one, but, but go ahead.
Yeah, so I think we've talked about AI agents, but we have also introduced what we call embedded or Gen AI features. These are typically called AI Assist. And this is a class of features which allows you to generate content, right? So for example, if you have to, we released a feature called item description generation. Typically this is entered manually or copyrighted by some third-party company. That's something now we are able to do at a click of a button. So those are the kind of features that we're introducing to help with SKU creation. But then we are also planning agents that will help you enrich the entire product with different humans in the loop and to be able to automate that process. So, yeah.
And that question was coming from Charlie Tidd online, and so he's also extending his question saying he's a supply chain user working across multiple simultaneous manufacturing models, ERPs, et cetera. So having that kind of one-off PLM working across multiple ERPs can, from a SKU creation, be huge. So I can absolutely, in your thoughts, envision maybe an assistant that starts asking questions, allows the data to go right in from a templated format.
Absolutely, and one of the things I forgot to mention in our Agent Studio is we talked about how the Agent Studio or agents have access to business objects in Fusion applications, but we also have the ability to have an external REST API tool, which really allows you to connect to any data source, right? Whether it's Oracle, on the cloud, on-prem, non-Oracle, and that will really allow our customers to expand beyond the Fusion applications in order to, have collections coming from ERP or some other systems as well.
No, I mean, as I said, for somebody who's been around, ERP and older, aspects since the on-prem days, since back in the 90s. So I told somebody kicking off this event earlier today, when you saw things like cataloging from Granger back in the day to track and trace, first innovators of track and trace, who I used to work for years ago, and you kind of go, you'd scratch your head and go, I think that's going to be a thing. Yeah. And so now you look at AI, and it's exciting times we live in because there's so much opportunity from business process management and assistance and, tying it all together versus just standard applications. So
Absolutely.
Exciting times.
And the good part is you can actually automate the data cleansing function. So let's say somebody in some ERP enters some data, they might not be aware of the overall standards, but the agent, before it goes and populates or comes back to you, might already standardize that data, right? So those are things that were a little bit difficult. Yes, you could do it, but now, with agentic AI, a lot more of those use cases are going to be.
Well, and I think from the Oracle perspective, looking at Oracle applications that have been around on the CX side, from master data management to the product side, arena, now you can start to bridge the gap between those type of advisors, those AI agents that now ask questions, may still behind the scenes interact with applications, for MDM or product data in different ways in the Oracle world, but it contextualizes it and helps them get to that point.
Absolutely.
Simplifies their jobs.
Yep. So that's why it's now not going to be called prompt engineering, it's context engineering, right? So the
Exactly. Precisely.
So just to add to that, right, like one of the problems that the hyperscalers, because of technology innovation is so fast, so there's a design team and the supply chain procurement, that was a good segmentation. But how do you get ready the supply chain team while the product is being designed? Definitely there's a process automation can be done, Yeah, so that's the precise problem we are dealing with. Like our supply chain team is not ready when the design is ready, basically.
Correct. And that also comes back to velocity, right? So
Yeah.
previously, just having visibility to that data would have sped up the process, right? And today, it's not possible. So some of these, just query tools of getting some information and early, long lead time items, if you can get visibility, I think it helps a lot operationally.
Because all the tribal knowledge is not always in the engineering team. Sometimes downstream they say, no, you can't use that supplier. No, you can't use that product, from a procurement or whatever the case may be. There's feedback loops that need to happen.
Yeah.
Well, this is great. Appreciate it, guys. This way to wrap this
There
up.
was
'cause
a question, I believe. I
we have-
don't know how much time we
Oh,
have.
another one.
So engineering team won't release the parts. There's a application, there's a requirement for supply chain team to have product release as soon as possible, but the engineering team has not finalized the design. And that creates a rub because the part is not finalized. There's a long lead time of parts, and the parts are coming from nowhere. So the supply chain team ends up giving a PO to the supplier to raise POs without a part number, and that creates a problem underlying because data is not released at that point. And that creates downstream impact when actually the parts arrive. So that's the contrary to the question, but it's the reverse side because engineering is not ready with the parts yet, right? So how do you deal with that situations?
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to solve that problem. The way AI we are going to utilize, like during the design cycle, if AI can predict some common denominators and start intimating supply chain team, like, hey, there is some risk buys you can start planning for. It may change, but there is some common denominator and pattern based on the previous designs.
This is where politics comes into picture and power play comes into picture. Okay, as simple as that. When supply chain is pushing you to do the thing which is not the right thing for your organization, there has to be governance and control in place. Some kind of cross-functional team which actually sits down and makes the right decisions. Right? You can make a lot of haste, and Peter knows about it. Right? We're not going to talk about it though, but that's where how do you actually pivot your organization towards the right direction and make the right decisions, and that's where leadership comes into picture, cross-functional decision making comes into picture, right? AI is still AI, that means artificial intelligence, right? The humans and the decisions that humans are going to make on top of it, whether they are the right decisions or not, will still matter a lot. AI is automation, and automation based on sensing, intelligence, but decision making is still with humans.
We have time for one last question. I know you've been patient over here. Thank you. Oh, and one more over here too. Okay, two more questions.
Okay, so I'm Jing Chong, and this question is really related to the anchors, maybe somewhat related to the question. When we talk about CX integration, and I was holding my breath to want to hear someone comment on the security, the role-based applications, and I think the beauty of it is AI. You can see everything. But the result can be role-based, right?
You're a great lead-in for the last session, which is all about AI security.
Oh, seriously? Well,
So-
I hold my question.
So hold
Please.
that thought.
I can
Hi.
speak. Let me speak to that.
Go ahead.
Quick sec. So as part of our CX analytics in our whole CPQ deployment, a big problem we had when we quoted our tools is we're aiming for a particular margin in the company. And the sales guy is not doing it on purpose, but inadvertently he's aiming for us to meet just that particular margin. So if our goal is 60% for a product line, hey, I'm gonna meet that 60%. I'm not gonna go higher because I want to make it best for my customer. So unfortunately, they had information in the past that let them go ahead and understand that they could do this or that to keep it within that 60% margin, to keep that relationship with the customer. But it was from a company perspective, it was still too low. We could have gone higher with that customer. So we've removed cost, price, and other information that would allow the salesperson to reduce the overall margin on that particular order. So now we're going to hopefully, and I expect, to have higher margins on our orders going forward. Now I have a lot of upset sales guys that they don't have the information they used to have, but from an overall company benefit, they understand it.
Hi, my name is Shankar Das. I'm from Trinamix. Thank you very much. Very nice session. My question is a little bit different. Anybody can answer. As we see that the AI is going to drive the whole business, all the organization. Are you guys see that there will be a different organization coming up within the organization called AI organization, and we are going to see a new role called CAIO, like Chief AI Officer? Like many years back, we did not have Chief Supply Chain Officer role at all. But we see now there is a very well-established role. Or do you think that IT is going to drive that, or IT will be renamed? So if anyone can take up that question and can put some light on that.
I can take a stab at it. So this is real data. The life of these titles, Chief AI Officer, Chief Data and AI Officer, industry standard is 2 years. After 2 years,
Now, the way I look at it, it's going to be role-based application, right? So AI is not going to be separate in my view. It's going to be how a particular technology team use it differently to generate the code, to build. However, the business teams are going to use it for more analysis, understanding how to sell more, what should be the product feature for engineering teams. Again, it depends on what is your use case, and then how do you use it. The business people may not be generating code out of it, but they'll be using AI for different purposes.
Actually, Amit and I were having a conversation last night while we were dry running this whole thing, right? You know, one of the things that Amit and we were talking about is what has actually AI done is it has created a level playing field. So a company which is $1 million revenue versus a company which is $1 billion revenue, it has created a level playing field in terms of access to knowledge, access to creativity, access to getting the right kind of responses generated, right? So I just don't want to say this, but Big Four is in trouble, right? Because now it has created such a big level playing field across businesses that whoever takes this assistant with them and starts applying that assistant in the right way will have table stakes, right? It's all about table stakes. And in order to get to that table stakes, you need to learn to use this in the right way, right? But the question still remains, when it has become a level playing field, what is going to be the next competitive advantage, right? And I'm looking for that answer. Amit and I couldn't find that answer last night. We are still looking for the answer when it becomes table stakes and level playing field. What is it that's going to drive competitive advantage?
That's the domain expertise and the data
That's
you
right.
have.
That's
Basically is going to be your competitive. And I think on that question regarding the organization, it's the skill set. What kind of people you recruit?
Yeah.
So the skill set you're looking for is different, and the whole creative part of it, right? Like thinking out of the box, right? Because you don't need that technical skill set now, because you're not going to go and create an LLM. What you need to know is how do you going to use this knowledge and the overall business and the domain knowledge to effectively implement this and implement it fast before somebody else does it. So that's the speed of execution, and the data and the domain that you create as you go through it is going to be important.
Yeah, so just to complete my original thought, right, about the title.
This is becoming interesting now.
Yeah, so going back to your title question, right? So I was telling like the industry standard is maximum 2 years, the life of such a roles. But there are people who are successful in this role, as a chief AI officer, chief data AI officer. What distinguishes them? 2 things. One is they have productized AI and data like heck out of it. Productize and democratize across the organization so that it becomes easy to understand and implement, right? That's number one. And second thing is these titles, they very well align with their peers. They don't operate in isolation. So the person is buddy with CFO, person is buddy with chief supply chain officer, chief operating officer. And the investing in the use cases, those really matters to their peer. And that way it becomes like a cohesive team. So again, my answer is the strategy is more important, how you execute that AI strategy. For that, if you need a role to create some capability or a democratized platform, maybe that role will be effective. But answering like what that role is supposed to be doing is more important than the role.
And I think just a very quick comment. So I think every function is going to be touched by AI. There's not a single function that would be, right? So I think the question is going to be, how do you have your resources be skilled in using AI to, again, generate that velocity where you have a competitive advantage of delivering much faster than your competitors. I think that's what's going to happen.
Perfect, perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for the team.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we exceeded our
Yep.
question is the best question of ours. Most answered question.
Go ahead and leave it on the seat.